Technology has become an essential tool in modern education, transforming the way students learn and interact with information.
With digital platforms, interactive media, and virtual simulations, technology enhances engagement and improves knowledge retention.
Edgar Dale's cone of experience highlights how learning is most effective when students actively participate in experiences.
In this video, we're going to talk about the Edgar Dale's
Cone of experience.
Before we proceed, let's go over our learning outcome first. 1. Familiarize with Dale's cone of experience and provide classroom processes or practices that exemplify each strata of the cone of experience. 2. Provide example of various instructional materials appropriate for given instructional context. Let's talk about first, who is Edgar Dale?
Edgar Dale was born on April 27, 1900 in Benson, Minnesota. He passed away on March 8, 1985 at the age of 84 in Columbus, Ohio. Edgar Dale was an American educator who developed the cone of experience, also known as the learning pyramid. He made several contributions to audio and visual instructions, including the methodology for analyzing the content of motion pictures. According to Dale, the cone is a visual analogy, and like all analogies, it does not bear an exact and detailed relationship to the complex elements it represents. In preparing to become a teacher, there are elements that should be taken into consideration. One way of putting it is, the 8 M's of teaching, and each element contributes to ensuring effective instruction. There are 8 M's of teaching. First, we have milieu, the learning environment. The second one is matter, the content of learning. Third, we have method, teaching and learning activities. The fourth one is material, the resources of learning. Fifth is media, communication system. And 6 is the motivation, arousing and sustaining interest in learning. 7 is mastery, internalization of learning. And the last one is measurement, evidence that learning took place.
With the reference of 8 M's instructions, one element is media and other one is material. These 2 M's are actually one of the elements of the Dale's cone of experience. Dale's cone of experience is a visual model showing a continuum of learning, where sensory aids overlap rather than being strictly separate. For example, watching a play differs from acting in one, just as hearing about architecture differs from designing a structure. While some versions assign percentage to different levels, this can be misleading as learning effectiveness depends not just on the type of experience, but also on factors like students' motivation and engagement.
Once Chinese philosopher said, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. It is really true that a person learns better by practicing the concept of the lesson being studied. This principle has something to do with Dale's cone of experience. Dale's cone of experience is composed of 11 stages, starting from complete experience at the bottom. Then, it becomes more and more abstract as it reaches the peak of the cone. Also, according to Dale, the arrangement of the cone is not based on its difficulty, but rather based on abstraction, and the number of senses involved in each stage are being mixed, interrelated, to foster more meaningful learning. Now, let's try to go deeper of each component of the cone. Since educational technology basically revolves around the cone of experiences by going one by one, starting from the concrete to abstract, we will understand the different components of the cone that help us to grasp into the real meaning of educational technology. Now, let's proceed to the band's Dale's cone of experience. There were purposeful experiences, the most complete experience. These refer to the foundation of experiencing learning. using the senses, meaningful knowledge, and understanding are established. This is experiential learning, where one learns by doing. In simple words, it is the first-hand experience. Second one is the contrived experiences. In this category, the representations such as models, miniatures, or mock-ups are used. There are things or events that may be beyond the learner's grasp, and so contrived experiences can provide a substitute.
Dramatized experiences. These are commonly used as activities that allow students to actively participate in a reconstructive experience through role-playing or dramatization. The next one is demonstration. When one decides to show how things are done, a demonstration is most appropriate experience. It is an actual executing of a procedure or a process. A demonstration of how to install a drive to a computer or how to execute the done steps is an appropriate way of making the learning experience more meaningful. Study trips, also known as field trips. These are actual visits to a certain location to observe a situation or a case which may not available inside the classroom. They provide learners with first-hand experiences, allowing them to connect theoretical knowledge with real-world applications. Next one is exhibits. These are displays of models such as pictures, artifacts, post-stand, among others that provide a message or information. These are basically viewed, however, there are currently exhibits that allow the viewers to manipulate or interact with the display, and as a result, the exhibit becomes more engaging and fun.
Next is television and motion pictures. This technology provide a two-dimensional reconstruction of a reality. This allows learners to experience the situation being communicated through the mediated tools. They provide a feeling of realism as viewers try to understand the message portrayed by actors of the films.
Still pictures, recordings, radio. Still are pictures or images. Together in a category are the audio recorded material or information broadcast through the radio. For example, like photographs, podcasts, music recordings, radio dramas, and news programs. Visual symbols, the second to the last stage in Edgar Dale's cone of experience. In this stage, these are more abstract representation of the concept or the information. Example of these are information presented through a graph or a chart. For example, a process can be presented using a flowchart, diagram, and maps. On to the final and most abstract experience in Edgar Dale's cone of experience, which is verbal symbols. This category is considered the most abstract because the symbol, words, codes, or formulae used do not directly resemble the concept or object they represent. They rely heavily on the learner's prior knowledge and understanding of language to interpret meaning. For example, include spoken and written words, mathematical equation, scientific formulas, and programming codes.
In addition, Breuer's three-tiered model of learning points out that every area of knowledge can be presented and learned in three distinct steps. The first one is enactive, a series of actions. The second one is iconic, a series of illustration or icons. And lastly, symbolic, a series of symbols. With young learners, it is highly recommended that a learner proceed from inactive to iconic, and lastly, to the symbolic. A young learner will not be rushed to move to immediate abstraction at the highest level without benefit of a gradual unfolding. However, when the learner is matured and capable to direct his own learning, it may move fluidly across the cone experience.
Dale's model suggests that people retain information better when they engage in direct, hands-on experiences like doing and teaching, rather than passive activities like reading and listening.
The cone moves from abstract learning methods like verbal symbols and readings to more concrete and immersive experiences like real-life demonstrations, simulation, and direct practice. The more involved the learners is, the better they understand and remember the material.
It's a concept, not a fixed formula, while often misinterpreted with a fixed percentage of retention. Dale's cone is meant to be a general guide for effective instructional strategies, emphasizing the importance of engaging multiple senses learning.
Thanks for watching!